Back on Inside Tennessee with Congressman Tim Burchett of the 2nd District. Susan Richardson-Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you. Tim, immigration is a problem in Tennessee and around the country. And in March, there were 18,800 children that crossed the border. We know we have problems and there are issues there. What's being done? Have you been to the border to see what's happening down there, or where do you stand on all of that? And I'm just curious what's happening in the House on that.
Well, it's not a whole lot, actually. Everybody's going to the border, and it's pretty hyped up, which it should be. It's a huge economic issue. You know, we know the cartels are moving children across the border, and everybody's seen that horrible video of them dropping 2 kids over the 14 feet over the wall, and now they just apprehended 2 people on our terrorist watch list. And I'm on foreign affairs, and I'm privileged information, so I can't really talk too much about that, if you understand that. And so you know, there's serious issues that we need to address, and you know, they're going to flood our unskilled job market, and this might come as a shock to some people, but I have some compassion for these folks. If I was in their shoes, I would get over the border as fast as I could if I had to escape that. But the problem is the way they're doing it. It's an illegal operation. It's illegal, and they're here, and our healthcare system can't absorb them, and the border is a magnet right now, and we've got to demagnetize it. And the kids are held in cages, and still, Biden's a hypocrite. They're a hypocrite. Everybody in politics is a hypocrite anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it's getting worse because they're not holding them off at the border and telling them to stop that, and you're not getting a clear direction from Washington. And the vice president laughing about it, that sends the wrong message to folks. I wish she hadn't have done that. I mean, I get it, but she needs to go down there. If she's truly in charge of it, she needs to go down to the border. And when there's people saying, no, stop filming this, telling U.S. senators to stop filming this, so of course they're going to film it, and that's going to be what you're going to see on Fox News and all the others. So it's just, and the bad thing is we need to have some compassion for the people. And that should be our driving interest. But both sides are using it as a political football, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we're not going to resolve anything. The Republicans aren't going to get anything because they're in the minority, and the Democrats aren't. And Speaker Pelosi is totally misreading the tea leaves, because in 2 years or 18 months, I firmly believe that Kevin McCarthy will be the Speaker of the House, and she will be out. There's people on the border like Henry Quarry, many others. They're Democrats. I talk to them every day in Washington that are really in a bad situation over this, and they know it, and they know we've got to resolve this problem. But the politics has entered into it, and unfortunately, it's poisoned it for both sides, and it's just polarization. As I state many times, all they're doing is selling memberships.
Ramsey?
Yeah, Congressman. I will agree with you on one point that you made there. I don't think in 2 years Nancy Pelosi will be the Speaker of the House. I think it's going to be a different Democrat. I think she's going to step to the side, but I doubt it's going to be Kevin McCarthy. I'd like to shift gears to something that I know a lot of East Tennesseans view as equally important to our country's future, our future, the world's future, and that's really green energy and green power. And there's a lot of great groundwork being laid by the Biden administration through their new infrastructure bill. I've heard you refer to it saying that, well, the roads are paved fine. I don't see the issue. So do you really think there are no opportunities for us to pursue around improving the overall infrastructure of our country and using that as an opportunity to leverage some green new jobs, create new jobs and opportunities for people to improve our overall economy while also making things greener and better for a brighter future?
Well, that's a great question. And I know it's your father's birthday, so make sure you tell him I said hello. But over $2 trillion is in this bill, and only 5% of it is for bridges, highways, and roads. I think it's reckless. It's a reckless agenda on some progressive priorities. It raises corporate tax rates, and that's going to send shockwaves because folks that are in the manufacturing business. I was in the legislature. I remember sitting next to a lady, and she'd always say, well, let's just put another nickel on a can of beer. Well, let me tell you why the people that are in the beer business make money, because they're not idiots. They're just going to pass it on to you and me. And I think we need to take a step back from the aggressive taxing of folks. And all they're going to do is pass that on to the consumers. We know that. There's going to be more money spent on electric cars than they're going to be spent on roads and bridges and traditional infrastructure. Now, I'm a new member on the Transportation Committee, but I get it. It's more than just roads and bridges. There's railway. There's barge traffic, with TVA and the dams and the locks, the systems, and our airports across the area. But I think we can't afford to spend this much money on all these non-traditional things that are not traditional infrastructure. And I get infrastructure. I do agree that it's got to change because it is changing. And 4% of all automobiles on the road right now, everybody thinks it's a lot more, but it's only 4% are electric vehicles. But when giants like Volkswagen say we are not going to develop our internal combustion engines anymore, and that scares a gearhead like me. I like the smell of gasoline, but it's going away, and we're going to have to realize that, even though it's only 4%. And we've got to do things like in this transportation bill, there are things like charging stations, which sounds great, except I shouldn't have to pay for them. Put them at a Pilot or a Weigels. Don't use our tax dollars and put them out on the interstate, which creates. I have a wife and daughter, and dadgummit, I don't want them out because it takes 40 minutes to recharge an electric vehicle. And until the technology is there, until Elon Musk comes up with a better battery, something like a propane tank where you just change it in and change it out. But currently it's 40 minutes is what you're going to take. And they have 7 different adapters. So the technology is not there yet. I think we put the brakes on that, maybe put more in research, but we're going to still have to pay for the roads. And when you remember this, when you drive one of the so-called green cars, I was behind one the other day and it said 0 emissions. Well, that's maybe accurate at that end point, but at the source generation of the electricity, which is TVA, they're either doing it with nukes or they're burning coal. And that has some emissions, unfortunately. So I think we need to slow down. We need to put more into the technology until we change gears completely. I would like to see more development, and I would like to see more development towards hydrogen vehicles. I think once they figure out, they crack that H2O and figure out how to pull the hydrogen out in a safe manner, I think that's a future there too. And I think we can develop that right here at Oak Ridge National Laboratory and put money in that kind of research. So I do think there's some great green initiatives. I'll agree with you, and I'm going to push for those. And if you've got an idea on one of those, you call me. I would love to. I will. Let's sit and I'll present it because I'm a capitalist. I know it's going to change.
Back with more of our conversation with Congressman Tim Burchett right after this.